Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about 4 things that you can do to go from zero savings to freedom and moving abroad. This is part 2 of a money hack series. The first thing we're going to discuss is to know your sources of money. I've also broken this down in my first video as well. 2 is to know your expenses. 3 is debt reduction or paying off your debt. And 4 is working your plan to freedom. Welcome friends to FDL Move Abroad Travel. I help Black women over 40 to move abroad, to get their finances together, help them with their logistics, their mindset, and their residency. I will break down how I went from confused to confident. If I can do it, so can you. My name is Dione and I'm here to help you. I watched Halisi Ric from Our Black Utopia. Their video was called No Savings, No Plan, Fast Money Hacks. I'm going to include a link in the description box to that video. They talked about the gap between income and expenses, how to save and invest that gap, knowing what the gap is first, then saving and investing that gap, paying off the full balance monthly of your credit card, of any charges that you put on that credit card, and not incurring any additional debt. They also talked about generating income by decluttering your home and selling those items because, as we already know, our family does not want our stuff. So if we can declutter our homes with what they called a mini liquidation, was getting rid of the stuff that you need to get rid of to move abroad and your family doesn't want. You can use those funds to pay off your bills or to build an emergency fund or a cushion. You have, as they said, a lot of things sitting in your home, in your closets, that you can put that money into something that makes money for you and builds up your money over time. So my spin on their video is, I will break it down again here for you on this video. So as far as your property is concerned, the money hacks that Ric and Halisi discussed, and I will expand upon, is renting a room in your home or renting your entire home. You can rent your home and move to a smaller living situation, right? You can charge your adult children who live with you rent. You can sell your home and use the proceeds from your home as a foundation for your retirement, right? You can also invest your money or use your investments as part of your retirement. You can calculate how much you have in your pensions through work or your 401k, your Roth IRA. You may have income from a previous marriage, your alimony, or access to your former spouse's pension. You may have a government pension or your Social Security. You may have a business. You may have a side hustle or two. So all of that income, whatever income you have, whatever income you can generate, should be included in your financial picture to retire and or move abroad. Okay. Secondly is knowing your expenses. What are your actual expenses? Do you know what the number is? Do you know what your essential expenses are? Do you know what your non-essential expenses are? Your monthly expenses, your annual expenses, those things we tend to forget about that occur once a year, like AAA insurance, roadside service, things like that, or your software fees, which generally are billed annually as well. Do you know what those are? Do you even include that in your expense overall picture, right? So we need to know all of those numbers because we want to reduce our expenses so that we have a bigger gap, I should say. We want to increase the gap. We want to increase the gap so that that gap can be put into a high yield savings account, or it can be put into our investments, or in the meantime, if you really need to pay down some debt like I do, or I want to, I will use that gap to pay down my credit cards. Okay. So one of the things I did that you may find helpful is that I changed my cell phone plan, right? I have two people on my current cell phone plan. I went from a very large carrier to a smaller, lesser known carrier. And I reduced my monthly expense for just my cell phone bill alone for the same two users from $137 a month to $90 a month. Now, this smaller carrier does bill on a quarterly basis, but still, there is that monthly differential, right? So that $47 savings does not sound like a lot, but it totaled $564 in savings. Okay, I was shocked. I did not realize that minor change yielded such a big increase in my gap. Okay, so I used that extra money to put in my high yield savings. I also put a little bit in my brokerage account, my Schwab brokerage account, and I also took a piece to pay down on my credit card. So my savings had three jobs, right? I didn't just isolate it to just paying down my credit cards. I wanted it to do good in three different sections in my financial picture, right? I chose to use that gap to pay down my credit cards because it helped pay down the balance faster, right? Which is going to go against my principal. And which means I'll end up paying less interest because my interest rate is high on my credit cards, right? So I chose to use the gap to pay down on those credit cards. Hey, if you found this information so far useful and insightful, please click the like, subscribe, and share this video with those people in your life that will need this information and can use it also, right? Whether they want to retire abroad or not. Hopefully you will find this information helpful and shareable. So I appreciate you helping out the algorithm, helping my new channel by clicking that like and subscribe button. Subscribing is free. And if you hit the bell, the notification bell, you'll be notified when I post another video, my next video. So another way you can reduce your debt, and this is in line with the credit cards as well, is to call your credit card company and request the interest rate reduction. All they can say is no, but if you don't ask them, they are not going to volunteer to lower your interest rate. I can guarantee you that, right? They're not going to do it unless you ask them. So you could be saving yourself hundreds of dollars if you call in and request that, right? So you can also shop your auto insurance and your homeowner's insurance for better rates. You can refi your home to a lower interest rate. If your interest rate is high, the interest rates aren't doing too great right now, but you may be able to lower your interest rate a little, and that will save you money monthly and in the long run. You can, this is another house hack, move to a smaller home. Okay, rent a room in someone else's home. And that will greatly increase your income versus expense gap, because you will no longer have the expenses of maintaining a home, right? The cost of living of maintaining a home. You can rent out your home. You can eliminate some non-essential expenses, which is what I did as well. I went through all of my monthly subscriptions and looked at what I'm not using. If I'm not currently using, I'm not holding on to it, right? So for example, I unsubscribed to YouTube TV. Now, I'm missing out on some shows that I like to watch on YouTube TV, but the savings was worth it to me because I wanted to increase my gap, right? So I unsubscribed to YouTube TV because primarily I'm only looking at YouTube for videos. That's mostly what I look at. So for me, that $90 a month savings was substantial, where I can add that on to another debt I had. For example, my credit cards. I unsubscribed to the XM radio in my car. I never listen to XM radio. I'm always listening to YouTube videos on my phone. So that was a waste of money, even though the subscription was pretty much inexpensive. To me, that's another dollar that could be doing work for me with reducing my debt or being in a high yield savings account. XM did not need my little money. And as much as they coaxed me to come back, offer me free months, I was like, no, because this money has to have a job. Okay, that's part of my financial goal, my retirement plan. So I also unsubscribed to Premium Pandora. Yes, I love listening to the music without the commercials, but was it worth the money I was spending to listen to Pandora every now and then? The answer for me was no. The more important thing, keeping my eye on the prize, was to increase the gap and put that money to work. I also unsubscribed to Amazon Prime. Yes, I like my packages getting here the same day or the next day, but was it worth the $14.99 or whatever it is a month? No, more on increasing the gap, right? So when I took all of those things into account, I saved well over $100, almost $200 a month. And you're thinking, if I'm saving $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year that I could be earning interest on, or I could be reducing that high interest on my credit cards, right? Because the goal is to get the credit cards down to zero by the time I retire. That's my goal. Not sure if that's going to fully happen, but that's what I'm aggressively pursuing at this point. I don't have to be debt-free to move abroad, but I would like to be debt-free to move abroad, right? However, I also do know that if I do move abroad with debt to a lower cost of living country, then I can pay my debt off faster. So either way I win. But if I do it now, I pay less interest on the money that I borrowed. So I also reduce my DoorDash usage. Now I have a really wonderful DoorDash habit. But I do realize that it costs me a lot of money for the convenience of using DoorDash, right? So I can still use DoorDash. I just don't need to use DoorDash 4 to 8 times a month. I don't need to do that. That's very expensive. And yet again, that's pulling money away from my retirement plan. Eating out is wonderful, but is it worth my future me? No. So by reducing that DoorDash usage, I saved over $100 a month as well. If you currently have or are considering a storage unit, I plead with you, please do not get a storage unit. Please don't use a storage unit as a crutch when you want to move abroad to not go through your things or to save things that you're not going to come back to this country to use, okay? It's a very expensive crutch. I recommend that you watch Rashida Dow's video. She is the co-founder of Exodus Summit with Stephanie Perry. She currently lives in Mexico City. I believe she's been there at least 5 years, I think. She has vlogged about cleaning out her storage unit. The name of that video is called Vlog Bay Area Storage Clean Out Behind the Scenes of the Mess. If you listen to Rashida, she will tell you, do not get a storage unit. It is so expensive. The fees don't remain the same. They do increase, which means you're spending more money to hold on onto things that you're not using, right? You could have given them away. You could have given them to Goodwill. You could have thrown them away. You could have tried to sell them. I mean, if you want to do that, but the money, and you would have had money to increase your gap, right? In theory. So I've put a link to that video below. Please watch it because she will implore upon you not to get a storage unit, okay? Also, Rashida had that storage unit for 5 years. So if that storage unit cost her $100 a month when she started, that's $1,200 a year times 5. Okay, that's a lot of money that she admits she could have used that money to invest or for a trip or something more pleasant than holding on to things that she didn't need. So thousands and thousands of dollars. Rashida, on her video, Rashida and Adelia Borisharday, who you may know is Picky Girl, travels the world on YouTube, they worked 8+ hours a day for 2 weeks. And they still didn't get rid of all of the stuff from the storage. They ended up running out of time because she needed to leave the Bay Area. And they ended up throwing things in the trash because Goodwill and the donation people didn't want the stuff. So she had to throw some of it away after she held on to it and paid for it for 5 years. And she also admits the rats and all the yuck from the rats that were the chewing through her stuff, the waste from the rats from being in her unit, all the grossness of it all. So please do not think of storage as an option. So the third item on our list for today is debt reduction or payoff. So develop a strategy for your debt. If you don't know how to do that, you can use ChatGPT or Gemini or one of the AI apps, and you can provide details of your debt. Say, for example, the amount, the interest, how long you want to take to pay it off. And you can give AI what they call the prompts. When you give AI information, it's called a prompt, right? And you can tell AI to give you a payoff plan and also tell it how much you want to pay off, right? You can tell it that. You can give it as much information as you want and give it directions on what you want the output to be. If you wanted to give you a payment plan, the fastest way to pay it off, if you wanted to tell you how much you need to pay per month in order to pay it off in a certain period of time, you can tell it that. It can give you a spreadsheet. It can do all these wonderful things. So AI is a really useful tool that you can use. You can also use I use an Excel spreadsheet, and I will insert my Excel spreadsheet into the video so you can see it. And really, my Excel spreadsheet basically has my actuals, right, by month. Some people don't subscribe to the whole budgeting thing. I don't view it as a budget. I view it as just a very clear picture of how I'm spending my money per month by category. So whatever my categories are for income, whether it's, my job, or I'm getting some kind of dividend, or you're getting alimony or child support, you're getting your former spouse's pension or Social Security, you have a side hustle, you get a tax refund. I even put that kind of stuff in there because I'm a very anal retentive accountant. So I like to know the money that I've received throughout the year, and it helps me. And then I can know, hey, am I getting extra money, and how I can allocate that money to my expenses, so my credit card or my investments or whatever. So I also I'm looking at the spreadsheet now, that's why I'm looking down, so forgive me. I have living costs, so I have my utilities broken out by whatever they are, my HOA, my electricity, my gas, sewer, water, any home maintenance, my mortgage. I also have travel costs when I travel, rental cars, lodging. I've done my immigration, my residency, I should say, with my immigration facilitator. So I have a cost for that when I go down there. So I can kind of make sure that I have the money set aside to pay those costs, right? So my household expenses, I have my dining out, which is mostly like my DoorDash. I have education because I'm taking Spanish classes with the tutor, groceries. When I donate, I also have that as a giving category. Any entertainment, my life insurance, any self-care that I do, my hair, skincare, things like that. And I have my pet care because I have a dog. So he goes to the vet every 2 months to get his allergy shot. I budget for his groomer and his any pet sitting I pay for when I travel, his food, right? So I know what those costs are, and I know because I take him to the vet every 2 months, I can allocate money for that. I can, in my savings, I can set aside the money so that I can have the money for that as well, right? I also have, because I've practiced this method, I've managed to pay off 2 cars early, and because I tracked the payoff dates and how much I was paying, and I was paying early, so it was almost like double payments almost, and the payments were small, so I wasn't killing the game, but I was able to pay off 2 used cars faster than the loan said, right? I also have a section for savings, so I have a high yield savings account, and I also have a couple of another savings, a regular savings account, and a checking account at this credit union that I find gives you better interest than a regular bank. And I have a strategy for my high yield savings account, what I put in that amount based upon some annual costs that I know are coming. Also budgeting for Christmas that's coming next year. So, and I'll tell you more about that later. I also have a brokerage account. I have two brokerage accounts, but I have a brokerage account, and I also have a Roth IRA that I put money automatically into every month from my job, right? I also have my regular pension that my job monitors as well, so I don't really have to allocate any regular money there. So I also have that's my Excel spreadsheet where I track my income and my expenses. I also have a 52-week savings document that I will share with you as well. I will insert a picture of what that looks like. And the multiple savings account came from a book that I read. One of the speakers at Rashida Dahl and Stephanie Perry's Exodus Summit, Move Abroad Money, that occurred in October. One of the speakers was a young lady, and she wrote a book called Broke Black Girl. And it teaches you, one of the things I gleaned from her book was to have separate savings accounts based upon the goal. So say, for example, if I want to save for a set of tires, we all know they probably have ridiculous tariffs on these tires. I open a savings account, and I allocate so much money per month to meet the goal of buying these tires. Now, it doesn't have to be exclusively for tires. It could just be car maintenance. So if I say I want to save 10% per month for car maintenance, then I would put 10% per month into that account. Okay. So also any other annual expenses that I anticipate, I would open a savings account for that. So that's what she recommends, and it works. You end up with multiple savings accounts, which won't give you great interest unless you are able to open different high yield accounts at different banking institutions. This particular institution I'm working with, they only let you open one high yield savings account. So really, I'm consolidating some of my future costs into that high yield savings account so I can earn the most money, right? If it's a short-term goal, then I won't worry about dumping it into the high yield savings account because I'm going to end up pulling it out anyway. So I'll use a regular savings account for that, so I can keep it away from my checking account so I won't spend the money. I will include a link in the description below to her book. I like to ask you to support your local library to borrow the book, or support a local minority-owned bookstore if you can find her book there. But it's also, the link I'm going to put down below is for Amazon. But, I try to get my books from the library or find an independently owned local minority bookstore in my area. So I also have a worksheet for the credit card payoff document. where you can put in your balance, your interest rate, the monthly amount you want to pay, which your monthly payment would be, your principal and your interest as well on that spreadsheet, and it'll give you a date, a payoff date, so you can have an idea. You can just toggle the monthly amount and the time frame that you want to pay it off, and it'll adjust amounts for you, and it's very helpful for that. So that's part of your debt reduction options that I like to present to you. So also there's another way to increase your income above with your declutter plan that Ric and Halisi mentioned. What I did with my declutter plan, and I'm still working my declutter plan, right, is that I got a declutter buddy. My friend wanted to declutter part of her house. I wanted to start decluttering my house in anticipation for retirement. So we scheduled time together, and we stated our goals at the beginning of the call. We were on video, and you don't have to be on video, but we were on WhatsApp video, and we just kind of chatted as we went through the decluttering process. And I found that if I have a decluttering buddy, I'm more likely to do the decluttering, right? If you leave it up to me by myself, I'm probably going to procrastinate until I have to declutter. So for example, I designated one section of my closet, right? I have a walk-in closet. I said, okay, to my buddy, I'm going to declutter this section of my closet from top to bottom. Or if within 30 minutes, if we were planning to chat 30 minutes, I said, okay, this is how much I think I can do in 30 minutes. I can do the bottom of the closet in 30 minutes. And then at the end of the 30 minutes, we said, are you game to go a little longer? Do you want to extend our decluttering chat for 30 more minutes? And we would extend it another 30 minutes. And however much you can declutter in that period of time, that's it. You know, you successfully decluttered, you know, that area. So you can designate a section of your room or in your house that you, and set a timer. And that way you're not tiring yourself out. You're not overly pressuring yourself. You're doing it, right? You're taking the steps. And that's all that this plan that we're talking about right now is just taking the steps. So of those items that you're going to declutter, you can donate them to Goodwill. I've given some stuff away to friends, you know, my children. I just gave a KitchenAid mixer and a closed valet steamer to my youngest son. He said he likes to cook and he wanted a closed valet steamer. I said, well, don't buy one. I have a really good one that's sitting in my closet collecting dust. And that's one of my ways of decluttering. It's like I give things away. It's like I don't even care about the money. It's I need to get this stuff out of my house, right? So it's like, hey, whatever. The money is not important. I just want it out of my house, and that's what I'm doing. Today I went to Goodwill, and I had found 3 winter jackets in my house. My son had outgrown these jackets. They were just hanging in his house. I had a winter jacket from when I used to go up to the snow, and I washed them and I donated them to Goodwill. I'm like, 3 more things out of my house. And that helps me, right? I'm still taking steps. I'm not trying to swallow the elephant whole, because I can't. I have a whole house to declutter, so I'm taking my time. You can also sell your things on eBay, Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace has some really great things. I've bought a lot of stuff off of there over the years. Poshmark, The Real, if you have designer things, Craigslist, OfferUp. You can have a garage sale if you're up for that. Your savings from your Gap, as I mentioned before, you can put in a high yield savings. You can put it in your brokerage account, because as the market dips, that's when things are discounted, and that's the best time to buy your investments, when the market is dipping. Okay, that's when the rich people buy their things, when the market is terrible. So if you put money into your brokerage checking account, then you have the money accessible for when you are ready to purchase your investments, right? This is not financial advice. I'm going to put my disclaimer out there. This is not financial advice. So please consult your financial professional especially when it comes to investments. The person at your bank may be able to give you information too. I would say educate yourself so you know what you're doing. Don't trust your money in the hands of anybody. Nobody cares more about your money than you do. Okay, so educate yourself. The brokerage accounts have also have tutorials, so I suggest watching some of their tutorials. I know Charles Schwab does. The other brokerages are Fidelity and Vanguard. It's a personal preference which one you like. I'm with Charles Schwab because I understand that Charles Schwab, when you travel, they reimburse you for your ATM fees when you're in a foreign country. So that means a lot to me. If I need to pull money out, I don't want to pay foreign transaction fees. I don't want to eat those. And also your for your savings, you have your pension. Okay, so you don't have to be debt free to move abroad. You don't. If that's your goal, go for it. But it's not. It's easier to be debt free if your cost of living is lower, and your cost of living was lower if you move to a country with a lower cost of living. Okay. So it may be easy for you to reduce that debt if you're living somewhere else. You're getting rid of your U.S. expenses. You're getting rid of your car, so you don't have that. You don't have the mortgage and all of the utility bills and all the things like that. So you can retire abroad with little savings if you have a plan. And we've just discussed a plan. And you could use all of it. You could use parts of it to whatever your specific situation is. It's not as much as you think. You don't need $1 million. You don't need $1 million, especially if you're going to a lower cost of living country. If you're a Black woman over 40, I'd like to work with you. So I'm going to put a link below to book a call with me so we can walk through some of these things that I presented today. Depending on your specific situation, we can talk about where you are in your journey. I am, just to let you know, again, I'm working my retirement plan now. My retirement plan to move abroad. I already have my temporary residency in Mexico, right? My 1-year temporary residency, because that's all they give you when you first apply. I'm going back at the beginning of next year to extend my residency. My immigration facilitator already knows when I'm coming. I've already booked my lodging. So I'm taking the next big step in my retirement plan. And I'm still funding my retirement and my investments, all the things. So all the things I'm presenting to you today, I'm doing them. Okay. People come up with $1 million, but if you're going to a place with a lower cost of living, you don't need $1 million. Unless you want to live $1 million lifestyle. That's a whole different conversation. So check out the resources below. I'm going to include the link for Ric and Halisi from Our Black Utopia's video, No Savings, No Plan, Fast Money Hacks. I'm going to put the link to Rashida's video vlog about Bay Area storage clean out behind the scenes of the mess. Reading my notes on that one so I could get the name right. I also have a Move Abroad roadmap for 10 steps to help you move abroad. I developed this roadmap from my experience of getting my immigration facilitator and navigating the consulate, all those things like that. And I put it in a really useful, clear and concise document that you'll be able to download for free. I'll add that link. If you have any questions about it, feel free to add a comment based upon the guide I give you for the Move Abroad roadmap. You'll find it super, super useful. It's a PDF document, so you should be able to download it and print it if you want, or just keep it on your phone. Okay. So I'll include my Move Abroad booking call link. There's a calendar so you can book time with me. I also will include the link for Numbeo, which is a really useful app that'll give you cost of living for different parts of the world where you might consider moving, and you can do a comparison between 2 different places. It even can give you the cost comparison between bread, in the location, and a pair of jeans, things like that. So gas, a car. So I found it very useful when I was doing my research. Also, I'll include a link to Nerd Wallet. Nerd Wallet is a really good platform to look at your budget. If you don't want to use an Excel spreadsheet like I did, a lot of people like to use apps. I'm a spreadsheet girly. I love spreadsheets. So again, this is not financial advice, but I mentioned the brokerages above. Check out their tutorials. I'll put a link for each one. Schwab, open a Schwab account online, open a Fidelity account, and Vanguard. Theirs is called Move Money. So connect with others in the community. That's where your I want to say peace, but I want to say that's where you can make the connection with like-minded people, because sometimes it's hard to have this conversation with friends and family because they think we're out of our minds. Like, why would you want to leave America? In community, you're talking to people who have done the thing you're trying to do, or doing the thing you're trying to do, or trying to navigate it. And there's useful information out there, right? So there's the Exeter Summit community that Rashida Dow and Stephanie Perry are founders of. That's a really great community. Facebook has, for those of you who like Facebook, there are Black expat groups in a lot of the places that you may consider moving to. And if there isn't one, start one. So there are, expat groups for Colombia, different parts of Colombia, in Mexico, in the Caribbean. And so, just find your way to some community, and there's comfort there. There's comfort and there's safety most of the time. And there's archived information there where you can even search without, if you don't feel like asking the question, search the archives for that group. That question probably has been asked and answered 100 times. Okay, so I encourage you to leave a question or a comment below. I would love to hear from you. And also, I'd like to encourage you to watch the next video. We're going to talk about safe destinations for Black women. Let me know in the comments which destinations you're interested in, and I would love to do a video about that, and we can chat about that as well in the comments when I post that video. I encourage you to click like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. It helps the algorithm and helps push out my content to other women who are looking for this content, and they may find it useful. Get in community, sis. The water is warm. It's a great place to be. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye, friends.